This is the Algebra 2 with trig, chapters 1 and 2 review. We're looking at the order of operations. We're going to start with what's inside the parentheses, then you square, then you multiply, working left to right. Don't subtract and get 147. Then divide. Then you can subtract. Next, when we don't have parentheses, you can only square what the exponent is affecting. When you have parentheses, it's got to be distributed to each of the terms. So negative squared is a positive. Substitute in negative 2. Before you multiply, you have to work with exponents. Then working left to right, we'd get 8, 14, 18. Substitute in the 3. You cannot say 15 squared. That's a common mistake. We're going to simplify. This is an expression. There are no equal signs. You're looking for the same variable and the same exponent. So in this case, we have 1/2 and we have 3 halves. That makes 4 halves for k cubed, which can be reduced. Nothing you can do with your negative 4k squared. So that's the most simplified form. This becomes a more difficult problem because of the negative in front of the 2, or the minus 2. You need to distribute it. Negative 2 times a positive 4 is a negative 8. You can't divide this by 2 and call it x minus 10. You need to keep that factor of 2 there. You could write it with a 2 out in front with parentheses, but typically when you simplify, you'll leave it like this. It's not 9, it's 3 times something. So 3w squared plus 9y plus 3. Collect your like terms. Solve the linear inequalities. Need to collect our like terms. I like to bring the 5 over to the 7 because my x stays positive. I divide by 2. I don't have to switch the sign. But it is common to have the x on the left-hand side of your answer. So x is bigger than, greater than 3. Same answer, but it's on the left-hand side. Here's a compound inequality. We're going to solve that. And then we're going to solve this equation. So I'm going to add 3 and divide by 2. Over here I'm going to add 3 and divide by 2. So a way to rewrite this is that x is greater than 8 but less than or equal to 6. That would be the proper format for a compound inequality. If this was your 6, this was your 8, let's take a look here. That doesn't make sense. The smaller number should be here on the left. So it looks like when I divided, I needed to get a 4 here. This would be a 4. When you have a compound inequality, the smaller number is going to be on your left. You're going to work your way up to the bigger number. You need to be sure your answers are making sense. Okay. We have an open circle because of the inequality, and a closed because it equals to. It's all the values in between those. An OR. An OR should have 2 rays opening in opposite directions. Subtract 7. Divide by 3. Add 3. Divide by 5. This is still x is less than 1 or x is greater than or equal to 3. So we're going to be less than 1 or we're going to be greater than 3. We have 2 rays opening in opposite directions. We knew that would happen because of the OR compound. This is an AND compound. So we knew that it would form a segment. Next, we're going to be looking at slopes. Using our formula. Our slope would be negative 16 over 9. In this case, the denominator is going to equal 0, which means that these points would be right above each other. Over 3 up 2, over 3 down 5. So this is undefined. If the 0 was on top of the fraction, it would have a slope of 0. It would be a horizontal line. On the second page, we're looking at a value of the students. In 1999, there were 5,707 students at PCEP. In 2014, we have 6,502. Determine the average rate of change. So the quantity, your y over x for slope. So your quantity is your y values. Your time, meaning in the very beginning, we'll call that 0. 15 years later, the quantity was much larger. So we're going to say 6,502 minus 5,707. $795 divided by 15, which gives us 53. Our quantity is students per year. So in 1 year, we had 53 extra students, and we did that at average all the way up till 2014. The next topic, we're looking at a possible snow day, and whenever you're working with average rate of change, quantity over time, so at 0 amount of time, 11 p.m., at 0 amount of time, we have 0.75 inches. 6.5 hours later, we have 6.5 inches of snow. So we have a 0.8846 inches per hour. So every hour it snowed just under an inch for 6.5 hours. So we had 6.5 inches of snow by the end. Here, this equation is in slope-intercept form. Down to over 5, up to, backwards 5. Connect the dots. Write the equation. You must write the equation. Here we could convert this into slope-intercept form. tells us that we're going to start at 4, up 3, over 2, down 3, backwards 2, and write the equation. Here we have a point -5, +3. If we're looking for a horizontal line, that's going to be your y value. A vertical line, that's going to be your x value. We're going to write an equation in slope-intercept form. We notice that we're crossing a b value of -3, and we have a slope of up 3 over 2. Let's try that again. 1, 2, 3, 4 over 2. 1, 2, 3, 4 over 2. You want to test it all the way through to see if it holds that same slope. It looks like it went up 4 and it went over 2, which is a slope of 2. So your equation is 2x minus 3. This is point slope form. We have a point and a slope. Our slope is -2/3. Our x value is -6. Our y value is 5. Distribute. +6 times a -2/3 gives you a -4. Add the 5 across. This is in slope-intercept form. Slope and a y-intercept.